Hello again, thanks for joining me. This is the US Futures weekly chart analysis for the week ending 23rd of September 2022. First chart is the US dollar index. You can see it accelerated higher this week, which really caused some damage in many of the markets. These are the breakout lines. You can see price accelerated higher. There was a short period this week where the market did test for supply, but this was really a news-based push higher, and it really did cause some issues in many associated markets, and particularly currency markets. The British pound got smashed last night. Generally, in response to a high volume, widespread bar like this, you will see a test for supply, something like this. Whether that's just intraday next week or whether it's for the whole week, this was a really strong bar, above average volume, widespread. You would nearly always see some supply drawn out, and that would cause the market to move into consolidation and absorption mode, at least for a period of the week next week. So certainly early next week, once this momentum's eased, I expect it probably will from the beginning of next week, you would expect some testing for supply early, and then perhaps if supply is very low, that selling pressure is very low, then the market may continue higher again, but perhaps not quite with the vigour that was shown this week. The E-mini S&P, this is S&P 500 futures. Prices almost come down to the previous lows now. This is the important level. Just touched this level this week. You can see the price action is almost the inverse of the US dollar, with the test for supply or shakeout bar here, and then a spike higher on the US dollar and a spike lower in this market. If the US dollar is testing for supply next week, you'll see a bar something like this in this market, which would be some form of consolidation bar, I imagine. And that wouldn't be surprising. There was high volume this week. Price really accelerated lower this week, and we are at previous lows. This is where supports come in previously, so you would expect some attempt to support the market again around this level, just above the 3,600 level. US Treasury 10-year note futures. You can see spreads increased the last three bars, and volume has increased over the last three bars. There may have been some speculative buying off the lows this week, but either way, price has broken down from where it was challenging the highs up here. It's broken down below the 17.5 level, where there was some support previously, and it's broken below last gasp support. There was a little shelf built in there that you could really see on the daily, but prices accelerated lower than that. So apart from a little bit of speculative buying this week, which may see a modest bounce higher, I doubt the price will get up to this level to test it. So there'll be a gap in here where price shows that it's really weak, and will probably come back again in response. Copper price futures. Copper price futures saw spread remain about average, and price held on adjacent to previous support. The lows aren't being tested at the moment. This is a market that's attempting to absorb the strength in the US dollar. Some of the commodity markets did do this. Gold and silver put in similar bars. This is the market attempting to absorb the strength in the US dollar. This is resilience being shown in the market. You may not feel like it if you're trading it, but it is what's happening, especially compared to some of the currency markets. Volume was slightly below average. Spread was about average. Prices held on at previous support, and it's not yet testing the previous lows. So that was a good result. And gold's done a similar thing. Gold's acting a little weaker than that market. Here's your breakdown lines. You can see prices broken down again recently. But this week prices held on. Slight reduction in volume, but still a little bit above average. Spread narrowed considerably, probably to below average. And it really hasn't broken clearly below the previous bar's low. So this is a market also trying to absorb the strength in the US dollar. It's a difficult thing to do, especially when it all comes in one big rush. If the US dollar inches forward slowly over time, some of these markets can absorb that strength and maintain a sideways action at best. However, when the US dollar spikes higher in one big rush, it's very difficult for these markets to absorb that amount of strength all in one go. So these commodity markets have done a really good job and are showing serious resilience to that strength in the US dollar market. Silver price futures are acting stronger than both gold and copper. Here's the breakdown lines. You can see price had the opportunity to break down again here, but instead buying support came in and you had a mini shakeout of sorts and a response higher to confirm it. Some supply was drawn out in the top of this bar for sure, and price has consolidated this week. It's consolidation and absorption mode. Volume reduced to average, spread reduced to perhaps even a little below average. Price remained within the range of the previous bar as an inside bar. This was a good, strong result, particularly considering the strength in the US dollar. This was a good result. Light crude futures had previously been showing quite a bit of resilience compared to the strength in the US dollar. It appeared to crack last week, and it certainly cracked this week. Wondering where price could go to the downside, you've got quite high volume come in back here, which corresponds with this bar. So if we drew the range of this bar in around the $80 level, $81, there is probably going to be some support found in here, and that may be why price stopped there this week. Probably unlikely it'll hold. Below that, this level at 70. So you've got these two levels. Perhaps if I drew them in a different colour. They're the two levels on the chart, just above 80 and right around the 70 level. If the strength in the US dollar continues, that's likely where crude prices are going, at least in the near term. Aussie dollar currency futures. The currency pairs were really getting smashed last night. The 70-cent level is pretty much gone. The 68-cent level couldn't hold. That was only minor support. This was a stronger level at 70 cents. It did try to hold it for some time in the past and even tried to recover back above it a couple of times. The 68-cent level is a minor level. It did try to hold on there. It was always likely price was going to head down towards the 65-cent level, which is here, and price closed just above that for the week on an above average volume. And you can see that prices almost copied exactly the US dollar the last 2 weeks. The US dollar had a little shakeout bar and then an acceleration higher, and that's exactly what's happened here, but the inverse, which is what's expected in the currency pairs. I would expect this market to make an attempt to support around the 65-cent level. Bitcoin futures have not really changed much this week. Price has got the breakdowns like it has done previously. It's trying to hold on around the 20,000 level. I'm expecting there to be some form of decent support down to 16,000. If that can't hold, it's the 10 to 12,000 level. which will come into play in here. This week, spread narrowed considerably on an increase in volume and slightly above average volume. That actually suggests that some buying supports come in. If volume increases to above average and it was all selling, you would expect the bar to look more like this, where prices moved lower with a spike lower because it was all selling pressure on an increase in volume, but it didn't. Price remained very narrow in its spread on an increase in volume and above average volume. So the spread narrowed this week. That would suggest that buying support has come in. So now we look towards next week's trading to help confirm what I suspect is some buying support that's come in. I'm not saying this market's going to accelerate higher now, but just a little up bar in response like this one would help to confirm that you've had some buying support come in this week. Overall, this whole area is building up strength for a move in one direction or the other. And whichever way price breaks, it will likely be supported by the strength that's been built up in this zone. So if price accelerates higher and breaks out above the previous breakdown line, the buying in this zone will support that breakout. And if price breaks down and heads towards the 10,000 level, then whatever buying has happened in this zone will likely be dumped, and that will cause price to accelerate lower. Just moving back to the US dollar finally. This market seriously accelerated higher this week. I would expect the test for supply looking something like this. And then if supply is found to be low, if selling pressure is found to be low, then you may see price just edge higher. I don't expect it will accelerate high like this. The wide spread was generated because of a news item this week, but you might see price just push higher slightly. Okay, thanks for your time. See ya.